Awesome, folks. Welcome to this episode. And we have with us Manan Agarwal. Manan, welcome to. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey Suhas, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Folk, many of you all might already know Manan from Twitter, but for those who don't, a very, very quick intro. He is currently an APM at Razorpay. He started his journey at Razorpay as an intern, then moved full time as an APM. But before that, had done a bunch of internships with Bounce, with Springworks. He did his engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology. And back in the day, I think he's also been working on some side projects. One of them which became pretty popular on Twitter called Intern Finder. So if any of you folks tuning in, looking out for some internships, do follow this handle. We will also drop it in the description below. But getting quickly started, some of you all have watched the previous episodes. You know how the format looks like. And do stay tuned till the end. I think Manan has some great tips to share with you all. Manan, quickly getting started, early days. I know it's still pretty early, but back in college, tell us a little bit more about your educational background. How was college like? How did you really get into product management?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I've been a fan of the product folks ever since it started 2.5 years back. Love what you're doing for the community. So starting on with my background, I am majoring in mechatronics engineering from Manipal, which is essentially a mixture of robotics and automation. So when I joined college, I was clear that I wanted to be at some intersection of biz and tech, wherein I knew that engineering, as in core engineering, is not for me, but I also knew that I didn't want to stray away from tech, and also wanted to be a bit closer to business. So that was the outlook entering college. I was pretty clear on that from day one. So that was that, and I think gradually over the years there was some clarity built on the career aspect. As in, I went into the deeper into the ecosystem and on deeper on Twitter. I think Twitter helps a lot. But yeah, so I think over there things started transitioning pretty well, and then I finally landed today at Razorpay as an APM. So I think two parts of college life, right? First aspect was offline, 1.5 years pre-COVID, and then COVID hit and everything reset. So I think pre-COVID, I did a bunch of things in college. Some of them were good. One of them which stood out was that was part of this team that builds Mars rovers. So we take part in NASA's international competition called the University Rover Challenge, wherein we build a prototype rover that goes to the Mars testing facility in the US. So for that project, I had raised a $10,000 grant from a leading software company in India. So yeah, I think fun days. After that, also was part of some business consulting clubs at college. Was part of the Economic Society. Then also was part of Manipal's largest media organization. So it's called Manipal the Talk Network. I think shout out to everybody who's watching from there. I think a lot of folks will tune in. So was part of that. Then went on to head business and PR for them. Built recruited a team from scratch to 40 along with my co-head during the pandemic. Scaled to 50k INR ARR during the pandemic. So did a bunch of interesting things there also. So I think yeah, college was fun. I think at least pre-COVID it was fun. Post-COVID it was like everybody on Twitter says it's for the side project that was going on. I like to call it the white noise to my daily stand-ups. So it happens in the background while a stand-up is running. So yeah, I think that was that on the educational aspect. On the professional front, realized I think in 2019, second year in college, that it's time I delve deep into the ecosystem, understand how does it feel to work at a startup. So started cold emailing, got a bunch of resources, wrote in a bunch of emails, converted a lot of them, including some today unicorns. Then finally had 2-3 offers from I think BTech and Springworks. Went on to work with Karthik at Springworks as a founder's office, growth intern. Did a bunch of interesting things there. Then came to know about product management from Shiv at Springworks. So Shiv was the product manager at Springworks. Now I think he's at Bureau. So I was working on a very interesting project at Springworks, which needed me to collaborate with engineering. So that's when I came to know that there is this person who does this collaboration work, and they're responsible for the product lifecycle journey, and spoke to Shiv in depth about the role and what it entails. So that was, I think, my first professional exposure back in 2019 about this role. That time the hype of product management which exists today was not there. And I think at that same time Manas launched his Aristos course. So it was too early for me to be a part of it, but I was following it from his blog. So that's when I came to know, yeah, there was Shiv at Springworks who told this in a professional setting, and then there are, like, this is a real thing that a lot of people do outside also. So from then the exposure into this world came in, and then I just went deep, started reading books, started following his resources on Aristos and stuff like that. Had also a friend who did Aristos in some sense, so he also gave me a good insight. So then both of us were clear that this looks like a good role to be in, because it meets where we want to be at, that is the intersection of tech, business, and other things, while building products, which is something that we love. So yeah, that was the exposure into it. Then went on. Sid Puri was hiring interns at Bounce, PM interns. So reached out to him, got into Bounce, did a very interesting 0 to 1 project, wherein Bounce was transitioning from a gasoline fleet to electric fleet. So they wanted to let go of half of their fleet of scooters. So was on this project, selling bikes from the Bounce products. Yeah, I think that was a very pretty fantastic project to get hands dirty in the product management space, because it was primarily ops driven as well, apart from your general constraints that come in a business. So yeah, had a lot of fun. When I joined, we were selling some 40 bikes. When I left, we were selling 120 bikes a day. So that jump, all through product channels, was driving that. After that, went back to college, came back from college, did a bunch of college shuttling because of COVID. College shut, college opened, and then finally, I think Razorpay reached out. Aditya, my manager, and right now, he had reached out on Twitter. I think after Bounce, a lot of people started writing in, as in, how do you get into this world? What is it about, etc. So that's when I thought it's the perfect time to democratize information and start a blog, because talking to people was not scalable after one point every weekend. So went on to write a blog. The blog, I think Aditya at Razorpay saw that blog and some of the articles, and he liked them. So he reached out saying that we're hiring if I'm interested. So yeah, I think nutshell, been a fun journey. I mean, just started, not even started, would say, but yeah, that's been it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. Quick question, Manan. You did mention, okay, hey, Razorpay, the opportunity came inbound. How did the opportunities at Bounce and Springworks come by?
So with Springworks was the first opportunity. So with Springworks, I was clear that I wanted to cold email, because I didn't have that kind of presence, nor did I have anything at that point. I just had some proof of work that I had done in college, like helping the project raise $10,000. I'd also helped a VC build, do some sort of validation for an idea he had over the summer of 2019. So that was some sort of like where, so this VC was trying to build something in the Kirana tech space. I think at that time Khata Book and OK Credit were not that big as they are today. So he was also trying something, and I had helped him. So I'd met him on this Facebook group of our college, via his friend, and over there I spent, I think, 2 months of my summer helping validate, talking to merchants on ground. I spoke to, I think, 50, 60 merchants in Mumbai, trying to understand what the business is like, what are the problems they're trying to solve, etc. So from there, this is some sort of proof of work I had built. So using that, I cold emailed, and that's how I landed at Springworks. I cold emailed Karthik, and that happened. At Bounce, so Sid had tweeted about the opportunity, and Anmol, one of my friends from Twitter, he also knew Sid. So Anmol made a referral and an intro to Sid, and that's how the opportunity came in. And then I applied, and there were like a bunch of general product rounds. Yeah, so that was it.
Got it. I think lots of interesting folks that you've been meeting around. And you mentioned about Manas. I think he has a fantastic blog, and Aristos is a great program. I hope he gets time to do like another session on that, like
For
version 2
sure.
of that. I know it helped a lot of folks. You mentioned Shiv. I think he's been a great help to our community as well. So moving to the next bit, right? You were able to crack some interesting opportunities, which probably led you to where you are today with Razorpay. If you can just walk us into depth, let's focus now a little bit into the Razorpay experience, and maybe we can touch upon Bounce and even Springworks, like those experiences, maybe as we go on. But at Razorpay, how did the process look like once Aditya reached out to you? What are the next steps like? And this is especially from an internship point of view, right? We've covered APM, lots of other APM opportunities, but as an internship, what does the rounds look like? How was your experience? If you can go in depth there, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I think a few clarifications there. First of all, that Razorpay does not have a like a PM internship program, to the best of my knowledge. So while like what process was there for me might not be the same when somebody else is hiring a PM intern. So that's one clarification. But I think having said that, so with me the process was Aditya reached out. We had an intro call wherein we just spoke about what I've done, what I'm up to, and why I want to do what I want to do with respect to PM. We also spoke a fair bit about intern finder, the side project. So that's when it truly hit me that making side projects will get you very far ahead in the PM space, right? Because when you either you can talk about it or you can do it and show it, right? So here the latter is there, right? I've built something, I've built a product with a designer, with a dev, and shipped it on, and there are real people who are using and taking deriving value from it every day, right? So that's when it truly hit me that building side projects is really beneficial to being a part of a product, to being a product manager, especially when you are at like college or just out of college days, right? So yeah, I think we spoke fair bit of intern finder. What are my plans? What I plan to do with it? What was the idea, etc. After that, there was a standard product assignment, or it was on product thinking in the B2B space. So I had to write a PRD. In Razorpay, we don't do PRDs, we do concept notes. I think Killen had taken a session for the product folks during the Insurjo thing. So yeah, I think so. We write concept notes. So I had been given the structure of the concept note. There is a very good blog written by Razorpay on why we write concept notes and what is the structure that we follow. So I was given that, and I was given a problem statement. And so yeah, I took 7-10 days. I was also given enough time for this, and there were regular check-ins with Aditya to ensure that I'm on the right track and I'm not getting astray, right? So that was also one interesting thing for me, especially in this journey where I'm not used to interviewers who follow up during the assignment process, asking you how things are, right? So that was a good thing that happened. So after the submission of the assignment, there was a 1.5 hour product interview round, which is your standard product thinking, product strategy, some companies entering a new market, how you think about it, and you're the PM for that sector segment. So yeah, that happened. Then there was one more hiring manager round with Anuj, who is the GM and director of Razorpay X Payroll. So that was one more round in the end. Yeah, I think that was the process at Razorpay. It took I think a good 4 weeks. From start to end, because there was the assignment, the submission, and then the reviews, right? So yeah, I think that was it in the entirety.
Yeah.
uh, with
Yeah.
Bounce, it was a bit constrained, as in like it didn't take that long. There was just one assignment that Sid had given, and it was, I think, on Swiggy wanting to launch a feature wherein you can place an order from the app, but you go and pick it up from the restaurant yourself. Useful for office goers who want to get their morning coffee before going to office, right? So this anyway pre-pandemic kind of situation also. So was kept in mind. So I had written a PRD back then as well for this, following which there was a product interview and with Sid, and things closed out. But the process was, I think, because Sid wanted things to go a little faster, so it took, I think, 5-7 days only.
Quick question there, Manan. You mentioned about these rounds. Is there any specific questions you remember from back then which might help other folks who are preparing for maybe Bounce or Razorpay?
So with I think with Bounce, the one question that I remember was, I think, somewhere around, since the project was around bike sale, it was around, okay, how would you do bike sale in Manipal, because it made so much sense, right? A lot of lot of kids want second hand bikes and stuff. With Razorpay, I don't remember exactly, but it was around some company entering a new market and they trying to set up a segment, and how you can think of it, because it's a B2B product. Both of the problem statements were B2B in nature, because more relevant to the industry.
Got it. Got it. And I know you have a blog that goes in depth on this, so we'll probably
Yeah.
link that as well. Folks, do check it out. It's an amazing blog. Manan, specifically, are there any resources that, or any people that you'd love to, recommend other folks to, so that they can check out those, anything that specifically helped you in any of these particular rounds?
So I have a blog on this as well, but a few things that I recommend to everybody is, one is the Product Folks mock interview series. I think that's brilliant. See, why I call it brilliant is because while there are a lot of mock interviews on YouTube by Exponent and etc., Product School also, what they fail to account for is the Indian setting, right? So and like if somebody's asking you what is your favorite product, and the person talks about, let's say, Amazon or Google Home, that's not very relevant in an Indian setting, right? So I think with product folks, that is something that changes, right? So that I used to listen to a lot of these mock interview videos to see how I am solving these questions. Like I would listen to the problem statement and then frame my answer, and then go and play to see what I've done well and what I've not done well. So I think huge shout out to that. For sure has helped me a lot, especially being in this setting. So that's one. Two, I think Gokul Nath Sridhar from Volt ex Gojek, he has a brilliant blog called Really Cracking the PM Interview, which is also set very in the Indianish concept. What I particularly like about that is that Gokul has listed a bunch of questions, and he's also listed the way to solve them with frameworks and with actual answers as well. So your job is pretty much done. You have to just look at them and then try to solve. So I think these are two resources that I recommend the most. And apart from this, I think Manas has a very good Google Doc that is linked in one of his blog posts on product interviews, wherein he goes very deep into questions and the kind of questions they ask from all rounds, right? From product thinking, RCA, product strategy, product design, even tech, right? So I think, yeah, a combination of all these three resources is all you need to ace. Also, I think Exponent paid plan is good. I've heard some good reviews. Had also tried a bit of that. Good structured answers with frameworks, so can help. I think with anything, like I think it's very common, right? If you want to be the best batsman in the world, how do you become the best batsman? You hit most balls, and that's when you will get the good amount of practice. Same thing goes with product interviews. The more you practice, the more you do interview practice, the more you take out products that you use daily and try to break them down, try to understand what would be the north star for this product, and then try to figure out things like that. Why is this flow like that? Over years, that sense will kind of gradually develop. Like for me, it's still developing, but I think once you get into that framework of mindset, then I think gradually things start to change.
Absolutely agree. I think those are great points and great resources. We'll be sure to add them as well to the description. Manan, let's move on to something that's a little more fun, right? I think we did cover most of the meat of this section, but I'm sure some interesting tips and tricks from your journey so far. But before we get there, what's been the most interesting thing for you that you've learned on the last year and a half in actually getting these interviews, meeting interesting people? Now you've been pretty active on Twitter as well. So how have things changed? What are some interesting things that you've been seeing?
So I think one interesting insight that I've figured out is that I think, like, I don't generally do a lot of Twitter reach outs unless I have a specific purpose with a specific asks. So that is something that I've realized of late, that if you have a specific ask with a specific intent, and you can define the agenda well, anybody will end up talking to you better, right? So that's been a good learning. So if you want to reach out to person X, instead of just saying that I want to learn from you, you would be better off if you say that here's five things I've done, or here's five things I'm doing, and this is why I feel you particularly can help me in this part of my journey, right? So that is something that I think is a good insight that I've discovered over the past 1.5 year. This is true for mentors, this is true for reaching out to anybody in general. Your response rate as well as the intent the other person shows will be drastically different if you have this sort of way of approaching such things. The other thing I think is building relationships and not networks. Like it's the entire lines versus dots concept, right? So if you reach out to somebody for advice, you should close the loop by telling them that this is what you told me and this is what I ended up doing, irrespective of you being following that or not, right? So and you keep on giving them updates, right? So this is something that I also started doing recently, and I think that helps in the long run, right? Also it depends, right? What is your intent behind reaching out to somebody? But if you want to, so there is nothing called as networking, in my opinion. You have to go and build a relationship with somebody if you really want to get close to them, because if you think about it, why would they give their time to you, right? So that's something that I've been thinking a lot about these days.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely point. I think, especially around, the follow up bit, wherein, you've asked someone for some specific advice, they've given you some bit of their time. Just following through with that, whether actually go down that path or not, just giving them update. I think that's a huge level and especially helps in building that relationship. What does 2022 have in store for you? Is there anything specific you're looking forward to?
So I think, yeah, one is moving to Bangalore finally. Hopefully that gets done. I'm finally in the ecosystem rather being than being in the online Twitter ecosystem. That's happening. I think we're also thinking of building a V2 for Intern Finder very early, but we're thinking what can be done better because we've seen massive traction over the past 1 year. It's been, I think, 1 year since we started Intern Finder. Yeah, 1 year, 1 month, and the kind of traction that we saw over the last year was phenomenal. So we're thinking to build what we can do on top of that. So yeah, that's happening. Yeah, obviously, I think Razorpay is priority one. Excelling at the job still remains the first focus.
Absolutely, no, and all the best for that. Probably coming to the last bit of this edition, Manan, you shared a bunch of ideas, bunch of tips. And in fact, if anyone here tuning in has used Intern Finder, do definitely give him a shout out. If you find some interesting ideas around that you think they can work on, do definitely DM Manan. And if you have any other questions for him, please do leave it below, or you can join our Slack. He's around there as well. Manan, there are tons of books, tons of resources, and I think at this point of time, especially for product management, there's lots going on, right? And everyone is probably super excited about the space, wants to get in. Is there, and now that you've transitioned from an intern to a full-time APM role, are there some points that you think gets missed out, some nuances that get missed out in all the Twitter threads that we see around?
Yeah, I think fundamentally a lot of companies. I think today I've been seeing in the ecosystem, at least at an early stage, is that you realize that not all of them are actually giving you a product management experience while calling it a product manager role, right? So if you're somebody who's into that I want to be a PM, but you're not very clear on your roles and responsibilities from day one, this is something that gets lost out, right? So you should be clear as in what you want and what the role entails, so that once you exit that company and go on to interview at the next place that you are, you don't run into a problem wherein you've been told that what you actually did was not actual product management, right? So as in there's some things that are core to product management, at least at an intern APM level, is that you end up shipping some things, right? Some features, or you own some metrics and you are responsible for driving them, right? Some nuances to that is that at a lot of early stage companies that need generalists end up hiring people in under the generalist garb, calling it APM roles. So you'd want to be careful of that, and want to understand your role better, your responsibilities better. That's something that I've been talking a lot about, and I think it's essential that you know about it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. For folks looking out for their first break-in, would you still suggest, hey, cold emailing is the best way? That's how you landed here, or is
So
there
for
anything you've learned?
first
Yeah.
bake, I think at least for PM perspective, I don't think cold emailing will work that well. Primary because there's no proof of work that you're attaching with the cold email. It's just talking about I want an internship, etc. Especially if you want to be a PM intern at a great place, at a great product company. Two, three things, right? One is I think there's the product teardown that you folks do. That's one of the best ways to get in. Even if you're not a winner or a participant there, you can just take that problem statement, solve it by yourself, and email it to multiple other companies as well, that I've been thinking about this problem statement and this is how I solved it, right? So that shows how you're solving problems early on. So I think that's fundamental. So you don't even need to go and search for product problems anymore. You can take tear down questions, tear the product down yourself, and do it. That I think that is a better way. The other is obviously to build things. If you build things, build proof of work, build a project, build a no code tool, build a bot, build anything in collaboration with people, and you're able to show that there is value derived from it, that stands out, right? And if you're a good analytical thinker in that sense, that you can think deep on some problem statements like a couple of folks are, then you can probably pick out abstract statements and try writing concept notes and sharing that across. This is worked good for a bunch of friends of mine. So you'd also want to try that, right? So apart from, like, cold emailing is the path, but it's not the means to an end. Your proof of work in form of any of these three things will help you get a better edge over any other candidate who's getting in, right?
Yep. No, thanks for sharing that. And with that, we come towards the end of this section. We'll end it with a quick rapid fire. Um, just two, three questions, and Manan, like off the bat, you can go for it. If there were three people that you'd love to connect with in 2022 and haven't gotten a chance to do so, who would those three people be?
I think when you say connect, is it offline, online?
Online, offline, either of it works.
This is offline. I think would love to meet Manas. Would love to meet Abhay Jani, never met him, been friends for a
Yeah.
long time. And I think one more person that I would love to meet is probably Shailendra Singh from Sequoia.
Super. That's awesome. And I hope you will be able to do that in 2022. Next one would be Manan, were you a topper back in college?
So, well, in online college, everybody is a topper. I would not say I was on top of my class, but I did decently well for myself.
Got it. A follow up to that is around just colleges, right? We see lots of great PM opportunities often go to say elite of tier one colleges, right? Your IIT, your BITS. Coming from MIT, do you see similar stuff happening for your batchmates as well? Or if there is anyone who's tuning in, not from the tier one colleges, is there anything that you suggest for them apart from anything that you've mentioned? Is there anything that you'd like to share with them just to
No, I
boost?
think being active in the community, and there's a bunch of product communities there. A lot of these tier one opportunities sometimes pop up in these communities also. So being active in these communities is also good. I mean, there's always going to be that disparity between tier one colleges and opportunities that you get outside, and you can only be lucky so many times. But I think it's more about the work that you're putting in than optimizing for that opportunity. There will be some limitations, and hopefully that will get solved over the course of the years. I think it's already been distilled down from where it was, let's say, 3 years ago. Nothing in specific, yeah. I think just keep in touch with the community, keep on doing your thing. If not immediately, eventually you'll end up at where you want to be.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Manan. I think this was an amazing chat, and I
Thanks
wish
for having
you
me.
the very best for 2022. I know you have a couple of interesting things lined up. For folks who want to reach out to you, what would be the best way? Twitter?
Yeah, just DM me on Twitter.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, folks, we will be adding that link below as well. Do let us know what you thought about this episode. If you have any ideas to share, do drop it below. If you have anything that you want to share with Manan, we will list his Twitter handle. So, feel free to DM him. And if you're in Bangalore, whenever you are, and Manan's here as well, I think you should definitely reach out and chat with him. If you have any specific questions, or if you're looking to take into Bounce, Razorpay, etc., please feel free to DM him. He'll probably share the blog link with you, and that's when you can probably give him follow-up questions, right? So with that, we come to the end of this episode. Manan, thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I truly enjoyed the insights that you shared, and yeah, we hope to
Thanks for
catch you
having me,
soon.
man. Catch you soon. See you.